Hello everyone, welcome. So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be talking about a few other little features in the Unreal Engine and get you set up for packaging your project to make it an executable file that you can run on your computer. All right. So this is our Polychroma 2021 file. You can see all of the lighting has been done, all of the pop boxes for the motion monitors are in place, and all of that has gone over pretty well in detail on our previous videos. I want to talk a little bit about lighting. If you're having lighting issues with your pieces where the lighting looks kind of bad, like there's pixelation on the floor and stuff, or on the wall shadows that don't look good, that's probably, or there's little X's on your lights. That's probably because you're not using static lighting, or you are using static lighting and you don't have a proper map set up. So lighting will actually be burned into the memory of the game to optimize it so that it's not constantly searching for what the light should be like. And we do that with static lighting. And I think I went over it before, but just to make sure that you know what I'm talking about here. If you click on this light, you want to make sure it's set to static. Stationary, that means that you can change colors of the light, that kind of stuff. That's a little bit more sophisticated, and the lighting quality is better with stationary because it's doing more math to figure out what's going on. However, the stationary lights, if you have too many of them close together, you will get a red X, and I believe 4 is the magic number if they're overlapping. I would have to rebuild it in order to see it probably, but basically a good rule of thumb is just keep all of them static. Unless you want to keep like 1 or 2 important lights stationary, but it does cause issues with your CPU and stuff. All right, but we can see that I do have some areas that have a little bit of lighting issues, these little artifacts that are happening here. And that's because my stationary lighting is a little bit problematic there. Now, easiest fix would be just to switch it to static, and you can see the difference when I switched it to static in the shadow quality here. So if I switch this one to static as well, look at the shadow on the ground. See how it really takes into consideration more information. And since they're not overlapping, I could leave these static and not have, or leave these stationary and not have a problem with it. And for sculptures, maybe I want to do that. So I can do that for these ones here. And then I would have to rebuild my lighting. And building your lighting is as simple as you go up to where it says build here, and you can just click it. But I usually like to change my lighting quality. I had it on production because I just did an export of this, but keep it in preview while you're not working on it. That way the lighting builds quicker, and you can see kind of what happens with the lighting quicker. Okay, so the other thing to pay attention to is our light map resolution. And the way we can see that is through going into where it says lit up here and going down to optimization view modes. Remember, we used the collision viewer right here to see how the collisions worked. Now, if we go to light map light map density, you can see the green is good. The blue is not so good. So the green basically means that you're in the green zone. Red means you've got too much light map resolution. The blue means you don't have enough. But I'm okay with the ceiling. It doesn't look bad, and the more resolution you add, the more it pressures your computer. Put your computer under pressure. So I would like to maybe reduce the light map on some of these objects, but if you have any weird lighting, you can change that. And the easiest way to do it is to click on the object that has an issue, and then under your details panel here, you can scroll down and you can find where it says override light map resolution. And we can lower the resolution on the red one, and then click out of it until we see that it looks right. So there we go. Now it's in the green. See? So this one, we're overridden here. We can lower it down, keep checking it. Orange, it's getting better. Green is what you want. There we go. And so on. So same with the floor. The floor is blue still. The ceiling is blue still. So then I want to raise that. So override the light map resolution. And I always do it to a power of 2. So 512, 1024, 2048, I believe. Those types of resolutions. So larger structures, you need the higher resolution on. So I'm going to do 1024. Enter. And then if I click out of it, it's green. Okay. And red is, of course, like this pink color, pink red. That's all highlighted, saying that it is highlighted, basically, that I've got it clicked on. So I can bump this one up too. It's right now it's at 512. I can change it to 1024 just to get it to be green, and so on. And really, you kind of want to visualize it, make sure that it looks okay before going too far in this process, because you can overdo it. And mess with things. So sometimes red is fine. Like this one is got 40. I'm going to change that to 512. And because it's a really dense mesh, it's going to be red. But I think it looks better that way. So that's the light map resolution. Okay, so that's one part of lighting. And look how green everything is. Green is what we want. So I'm going to switch back to lit here. And I would need to build my lighting in order to see that, but I'm not ready to do that yet. I also want to talk about reflections. You can notice how beautiful my floor reflects things. Everything that's shiny reflects the world around it. And that's done with a reflection volume of some sort. So we can see a few of them here. So if I click on this, I've got a box reflection capture here. And if I go to the top view here, you can see, if I F for focus on it, I've got this box set up for the exterior. And that's going to mean that it basically is going to capture the reflections related to this area and reflect it on any materials that are reflective, like, say, the front here. So we've got these metal pieces, and they're reflective. So our box reflection creates that reflective quality to it. And you don't want to overlap it. If I accidentally had this box inside of the room a little bit, you'll see a blue kind of funkiness to where the box is. And I want only the light in here to be reflected. So I've actually set up inside a couple of these little sphere captures. And the sphere is just capturing the area here for its reflection. So there's boxes which are good for like blocky architectural things, and there's sphere captures which are really nice for getting like smaller areas to have reflections. So there's always a hierarchy. The larger the size of your reflection capture will be prioritized first. So my box reflection in the front, I've got a box reflection in the back as well. Those are my larger ones. They don't overlap, and they are our priority. The smaller ones are kind of secondary. So there's one in this room, and then there's the one over in this room, which I don't think I've got actually very big. And you change the size of them by just clicking on it, and then you come over here into the details panel, and you can see towards the top the radius here. If I put it out a little bit more, you can see it actually gets rid of the purple, because the purple is coming from outside. So this is saying, in this zone, I only want the things in this zone to be captured. And I always want to watch out, make sure that the two don't overlap. You don't want any funky overlapping, basically. So if I look at it in my top view, you can see they don't overlap, but they do overlap with my outside one a little bit. So I'm actually going to push this one in a little bit because I don't quite want it to overlap. And then I've got this one here. Oops. And it overlaps as well. So I can actually bring the scale down just a little bit so they don't quite overlap, but they still fill out the room. Okay. this way. And it's kind of an art to itself, getting these these reflection captures to work properly. And then I should have one more box reflection back here. So if I search in my box reflection capture, there it is. So yeah, this is getting that back room that has all that shiny stuff on it. So that's going to be good for that. And this one you can change the size of using the scale tool. And for some reason, the scale tool is really hard to push. So you just got to keep pushing that mouse to make it get smaller. I don't know if that's a setting I've got on mine, but if you see that problem when I change it to scale, and remember you change these gizmos by just hitting the space bar. You can change it to scale, rotate, all that kind of stuff. Okay. And then other things we have in here are like a post-process volume, which basically, let me see if I can find it. Post-process volume, this thing, which goes around the whole area here, allows you to set up camera things like exposure. If I felt like the whole scene was blown out or not exposed properly, I can enter an exposure compensation right here just by clicking on that to activate it. And you can do all kinds of other stuff like control the amount of lens flares, you know, how the camera looks, all of that in there. Bloom, but mostly exposure is really important. So that's a post-process volume, and that can be found by just going post-process volume. I think by default they put one in there for you, but you want to edit it if you have a problem with the way it's being processed. Okay, so that is kind of the basics on lighting and stuff like that. Let's switch back to our perspective view and see if I messed up the lighting. Okay. It looks like it might be all right. Sometimes I mess it up by, yeah, you can see there's a little bit of bleed right there that wasn't there before. So we just kind of control that by moving this around. You can see it pushing that light outside. And you can see the light is coming from outside right there because there's no reflection capture in the area. So lighting is really, really finicky, but it's what makes things look good because you don't see anything without light, right? Okay, so let's go ahead now. I'm going to build this lighting just in my preview here. Make sure I didn't mess anything up. And then the last thing I want to show you is a couple of other things related to video monitors. And your character that's moving through the space. So let me go ahead and pause this. All right. So everything came out all right. Looks pretty good to me. One other thing I wanted to emphasize when it comes to lighting is the world settings are also kind of important to control the quality of your light. So if I go to world settings here, and if you don't have that, it's under window, add world settings, and it'll come up right here and you'll have this you can click back and forth on. So world settings, the only really important thing to change in here is our light mask settings. These are the settings that I have set up. If you really wanted to delve into the details on this and figure out what each thing of these does, or each thing does, yeah, you can do that on your own. There's lots of videos online, but these are kind of my settings that I use. So static lighting, level, scale, number of directions and bounces. It's like how much does the light bounce around so that it fills out the space more. The indirect lighting quality, the indirect lighting smoothness, so that's kind of bump up a little bit. Environmental intensity, most of these are going to stay pretty much the same. I don't change much on this. And then yeah, so you can see my settings here. Make sure that yours kind of match mine, and that might be the easiest way to do this. Okay, so that's the lighting settings in here. And then last thing I want to show you is the blueprint stuff. So under my level blueprints, which if you go up to blueprint here and you go up to open level blueprint, you'll be able to see all of the settings for polychroma that are in here. So most of these you probably won't need. These are just pop-ups that you can do. The pop-ups, are when you click on the object, more information pops up. That's all of these, all the way over. Those are the 2D, 3D ones. So if you wanted to do that, you can. It's not that complicated, but not required for the project. The media center stuff we talked about in the last video shows you how to set up on actor begin overlap and creating these little media players, which are all located up here. So that was done in the last video. But if you wanted all of your video monitors to be looping when you start the project or when you start the game, you can come here and go event begin play. If you just right click and you type event begin play, it's already there, so it'll just zoom to it. You can only have one instance of that there. That's why you can put this sequence in so that you can actually create multiple things to happen when it begins playing. And so that's just under sequence. So you find the sequence, and I'm just right-clicking in here, of course, to pull that up. So sequence, and then you create a looping situation so that your game loops or your video monitors loop. And the way you do that is pull this out, and then you go set looping, or no, you first got to find your media player. So if I pull a media player into here, you can go to get, and then pull this out, and then type loop, set looping. Click this, don't forget to click that, or you'll wonder why it's not working. And then you have the source open, so you go, or here, let's see, pull this out here and go source, open source, and make sure it says target is media player, open source. Okay, so then I can pull this over to there, plug in set looping, open source, media source, select your asset 127, and that's just the name that we named this thing last time. Okay, and then that's basically all there is to it. So this plugs in right here, which I can do it, but I don't want to do it because I've already done it. So this source should already be open someplace else. Let's see. Is it? Maybe it's not. Yeah, well, let's plug it in. Why not? See what happens. Oh yeah, there it is, 127, right? Yeah, do I have both of them on here? Yeah, I do. So that's already existing. So I'm going to just delete that. And you just can go break pin. But that's to make it all loop. Another couple of things you might want to do is add some keys like escape. So if you type the name of a key like escape, I've got that key there, and you go to when pressed, you can do quit and quit game right there, and it'll make it so that it quits the game. Again, the level blueprint, which means it's basically and you can see I've already got my escape set up there. Just move it up with the rest of this stuff. Let me move all of this down here, actually. Oops. Okay, so it's compiled. Close it down, no problems. And then if I hit play, my mouse is still a little wonky. I got to figure that out, but I will. Okay, so we walk in, doors open. That's another thing. It's just a rotation blueprint. If you want your doors to open, you can. Otherwise, I just usually will set like no collision to the door so you can walk through them. All of our displays are automatically looping.
What if I told you only in 305?
And we don't get sound on the loop because we don't have an audio source set up. So if you look at the blueprint where the difference between those two level blueprints, I don't have my get audio or get sound. Let's see. Blueprints. See, there's set looping open source. It's the media player. But if we look at the other media player down here, it goes add media sound component. So that's why we get sound for those, which we don't get on the loops. Cool, so that sets all that up. And now if I close this down, I am ready to package this thing. So of course, if you don't have your lighting built, we're gonna set lighting quality. I'm gonna set it to production. And then on my settings here, if you've got a decent enough computer, you should be able to set all of this to epic quality. And if not, you can set it for, a little bit lower quality of interaction there. Okay, so now I am ready to package the project. So this is a really easy part. If you've got everything set up right, I've got some light bleed I don't like right there. Let me just fix that. Which means I'm going to have to rebuild my lighting a little bit. And I think I can just build my captures here. So build reflection captures. And that's quick. Okay, so that's all done. You can see how nice the quality of the light is that's on the sculptured objects too. Okay, so now we're ready to build. So we go to File, and we go to, or we already built. Oh wait, I've got to build it for production quality. So I'm going to go ahead and build this thing for production, even though it doesn't say I need to. Last time I built the lighting, I only built it for preview. I'm going to build it for production this time, which will take longer. So hopefully you're giving yourself plenty of time for this process. It's a lot of waiting around time. So hopefully you're working on other finals and you can kind of go back and forth a little bit on this. Okay, so we're back. Basically, we are all set here to package. The only other thing I was going to mention to you is your character. By default, this is where my camera is here. By default, your character is a little bit chunkier. It's got it's a little wider in all directions. You can change the size of your character. So if I find my first-person character in my settings here and edit it, first-person character, you can see all of the command scripts. Remember, this is where we came in and removed the gun and stuff. So if we go over to the viewport, this is also where we remove the gun. If you click on the capsule here, I can change the scale of it. I can change the size of the character so that it's a little thinner. That makes it so I can actually get up close to the artwork and really look at it, which is nice. And the height is set for the capsule, for the character, all of that kind of stuff. Collision is set. All of that is set right through here. Another thing you might want to consider is the physics of how fast the character moves. That's something that you might want to change the speed of. So if I click on the camera here, you've also got lens settings on here. So color grain, film effects, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Capsule, navigation, height, radius. So the radius is where you make it really big or really small, and that's going to be how it collides with objects. Okay, so that's basically our character there, but also if you have it clicked and you go to the details panel here, you can see some more information about physics for the character. And I noticed that when the character moves through the space, it tends to move really, really quickly. You can actually slow the character down. Character movement right here, max acceleration. That's, so if you wanted to slow the character down some, you can slow down the max acceleration. And you can also do the walking speed. Max floor angle is also a good one too. If you are having problems getting up steps, if you put steps into your room, this will help you get up steps. And max walk speed. You can lower that down a little bit if you want. So there's a lot you can really tweak in here as far as how fast the character moves. So yeah, get those tweaked a little bit better, and then you're ready to navigate the space. One other thing I'm going to check here on my project settings. Project settings are kind of like the overall settings for your project, and some things you might want to switch in here under rendering. If you go to engine, down here to rendering, you want to make sure you're set up for anti-aliasing. Make sure your temporal AA is there. That helps with kind of blurring the edges of things a little bit to make it look less jagged. So if you've got jagged edges, that's probably why. And then I go capture during mouse down. I think that should be. Yeah, let me set that to capture. So that's under just mouse here. Okay. Cool. So that's all set. And then if I push play, and yeah, I'm still wiggling around. I don't like that. I forget which setting that is to make it so I don't have to click. But at this point, it's good enough for government work. So basically when you push play, you can see it, the mouse is captured. It's basically rotating my view around, which is annoying. But when I click, it activates the game mode to keep the player controller so that I can click and drag to move around, but it doesn't interfere with my objects. So I'm clicking my pop-ups. Okay, cool. I think my messed up the pop-ups with that setting. Okay. Double check. There we go. Okay, so cool. Pop-ups work. All right. So now I'm ready to package. All I got to do is stop my this, make sure that everything is built all the way, and then I go File, Cook Content for Windows. That's going to take a bit on your side to cook that content. Once the content is cooked, basically meaning that all of the code is assigned and everything looks good, we will be ready to package the project. There we go, cooking complete on mine. And then all we got to do is we come down to package project. And if you have a PC, you will package it for Windows 64-bit. If you have a Mac, it will say OS or Mac or something like that, whatever. It doesn't say that here because I don't have a developer's license, so you can only package it for the project that you've got. So that is going to basically be it. So I'm ready to package. This is going to be the final version that we'll be distributing. So package my project, and I'm going to put it in a folder on my computer called package project. Delete this. That's the old version, so I only have one. And select it. It packages the project. And once it's done packaging, I will be able to open it as an executable file. So let's do that as soon as it's done packaging. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, so now I'm going to close this. All done with that. Make sure you save everything. And then I'm going to go to, oops, I closed that. I didn't want to. Dang it. Oh well. I'll just go to my packaged file where I've got it saved. And how you're going to go about turning this in is you're going to turn in the packaged project, but you're also going to be turning in a video walkthrough. And that video walkthrough is found on obsproject.com. It's a free video recording software that I use for everything. And I would show you how it works, but I'm using it right now. So there are video tutorials online, tons of them that'll show you how to set everything up and get it to work. But yeah, so you're going to use that while going through and navigating your space. So if I close this down, I'm ready to open up my packaged project, and I'm screen recording right now. What I want you to do for turning in your project is this. So pulling in, yeah, see my funky setting on the view, which I do not like. Got to figure out that. So you're basically just going to walk through, and I'm walking through this, and it's pretty smooth for me to walk through because I'm using a game controller. Oh, you can see a little jagged line there. It means that I've moved something a little bit. I've got to move it back because there's probably a gap on this side. Yeah. Okay, so I think I moved the dirt somehow. But yeah, just walk around your space, walk up to things that you've worked on. You can narrate it if you want to. You don't have to. But just make sure you go through the whole place. And if you've got a game controller, it's so much nicer because you can see this is with a game controller versus with WASD keys. It's harder to control the speed. But because I've slowed it down, it's not like we're running through a battlefield anymore. And then pop-up should work. They tend to not work sometimes on my when I'm recording live. I don't know why, but they should work in real life. And I've even created books using motion graphics too. So the same principle exists for books, but you do need to size them 1024 by 980 or whatever the aspect ratio is of a video screen and stretch them and then put them onto a surface that will shrink them down. But yeah, walk through the space, go up to a piece and go, oh, look at this, look how nice, okay. And just kind of navigate as you can. Forget if you can, I can jump, but can I crouch? Yeah, I don't know how to crouch, but you can kind of see as I walk through the space, all the objects. Okay. Oh, there's one. That's cool. All right, so once you're done with that, you'll save your recording to the OneDrive folder as well as save your project. So if I go to my OneDrive folder for our class, under Project 3 Portfolio Gallery, you've got the packaged file. That's where you're going to save your packaged file that we just packaged, and then the video walkthrough will be right there. When saving your packaged file, the key thing to remember is this, okay? So I go to my packaged file, Polychroma, right-click on it, and with send to compressed folder or compress file, if you've got a Mac, I believe is what it's called. Compress it, zip it up, basically, so that because all of the files that are in there, there's actually hidden files inside of the folders, and if those are not copied properly, the executable file will not execute, basically. So make sure you package it, and then you put it into a zipped folder, and that zipped folder will go into the OneDrive folder. And that's basically it. That's how we're going to turn it in. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to take screenshots of the work that you're making, of your walkthrough, take a screenshot or two, and then you're going to put it up on the concept board. Since we don't have class the day of finals because of graduation, we are going to do an asynchronous critique. So everybody's going to go to this folder and watch the video walkthroughs for each project, each person's project, and take those, take a couple of notes of things that you liked about the design of the gallery space, the non-room, the artwork that's in the gallery space, how it's presented, all of that kind of stuff. And then you're going to comment on the concept board and just put a few comments. You can even just type out a few different comments on a few of them. I would say at least comment on 3 people's projects. And if you see that somebody's not getting any comments from people, please comment on theirs. Try to be a little bit equitable with your criticism and critiques. And just, give encouragement, but also room for improvement, something else that might have been cool that they could have done. If the artwork is at the wrong height, if the room is too big, there's all kinds of things that you can comment on to help develop the skill sets related to the design. All right. Hopefully that explains everything. If you have any questions, please email me.